Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we are going to dive into some truly counterintuitive math. We are going to explore the fascinating and honestly slightly hidden reasons why owning less actually creates more financial freedom. We're talking about the minimalist money rules that separate the people who always seem to have money from those who just never do, completely regardless of their actual income level. All right, let's jump right in. I want you to imagine two apartments right next door to each other in the exact same neighborhood. On the left, we've got our first resident. They're pulling in $95,000 a year, and their place shows it. They've got a massive 75-inch TV on the wall, a gorgeous $4,000 leather sectional, kitchen appliances that are literally still in the box, and a spare bedroom they essentially use as a giant storage locker. But financially, they are stressed to the max. They are exactly two missed paychecks away from a total crisis. Now let's look at the neighbor on the right. This person earns just $52,000 a year, almost half. They've got a modest couch, a normal-sized TV, and a closet with clothes they actually, wear. Yet this neighbor has 18 months of living expenses saved up in the bank, and they invest 20% of every single paycheck. Same neighborhood, but the person earning half as much has 10 times the financial security. Why? Because financial stability is rarely just about how much money you make. It's really about the hidden relationship between your stuff and your money. All right, moving right into section 1, the hidden cost of stuff. So there is this massive cognitive trap we all fall into. And the crucial concept here is something called the second cost. See, we tend to think the price tag on the receipt is what an item actually costs. But the source material reveals a pretty profound truth. Everything you own costs you money twice. The purchase price, that's literally just the entry fee. The second cost is the invisible, ongoing expense of ownership that quietly drains your wealth long after you've thrown that receipt in the trash. Okay, so just how much is this second cost? Well, take a look at this number, $30 to $50. In most urban areas, that is the annual cost per square foot just to store items inside your own home. To put that into perspective, if you buy a treadmill that takes up about 20 square feet of floor space, you're implicitly paying $600 to $1,000 a year in rent just to house a piece of exercise equipment that, let's be totally honest, probably spends 99% of its life acting as a very expensive coat rack. But here's the thing, space is just the tip of the iceberg. First up, you have maintenance. An industry rule of thumb is that a boat requires about 10% of its value every single year just in basic upkeep. Then there's your mental energy. Researchers have actually found that visual clutter measurably spikes your cortisol levels, meaning your stuff is literally stressing you out. And finally, the big one, opportunity cost. Every single dollar you have locked up in a physical possession is a dollar that isn't out there working for you. That $15,000 home gym setup, if you would just drop that into index funds instead, it could have grown to $50,000 over 15 years. You didn't just buy a home gym, you got a home gym instead of future financial freedom. Which brings us to section 2, rules for intentional spending. Let's actually crunch some numbers here, okay? Say you buy jacket A for $200. Up front, it definitely feels like the frugal choice. But if you only wear it twice because it's not really your style, you are paying a whopping $100 per wear. Meanwhile, jacket B costs double up front, $400, but it's high quality, you love it, and you wear it 200 times. Your cost drops to just $2 per wear. Mathematically speaking, the expensive jacket is genuinely the cheaper option. This simple cost per use calculation is a total game changer because it cuts right through the marketing hype and the emotional rush, showing you what actually makes financial sense in the long run. All right, this next rule requires a little bit of radical honesty. I want you to ask yourself, if this item disappeared today, would I actually spend my hard-earned money to replace it? Apply this to your home right now. Think about that dusty fondue set in the back of the cabinet, or those clothes you haven't worn in 18 months. If they just magically vanished, would you genuinely get in your car, drive to the store, and buy them again? For the vast majority of our stuff, the answer is a hard no. These items essentially have negative value. They are stealing your space and draining your mental energy simply through inertia, not because you intentionally want them there. And that radical honesty leads perfectly into our next rule: never upgrade out of boredom. There is this incredibly toxic pattern, especially among high earners, where they replace perfectly good items, a super reliable car, a flawless phone, perfectly fine furniture, just because a newer model hit the market. Listen, upgrading a perfectly functional item isn't progress. It is wealth destruction disguised as progress. The source data highlights that the average American replaces a fully working smartphone every 2 to 3 years. If you apply that kind of behavior across all the categories of your life, This upgrade culture can easily torch $200,000 in totally unnecessary waste over your lifetime. Functional simply means it gets the job done, not that it's the shiniest new toy on the block.
Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, this all makes sense, but man, it takes so much self-control. Actually, scratch that. You really shouldn't be relying on willpower at all. Willpower completely depletes when you're tired or stressed or having a highly emotional day. Your environment, on the other hand, that is constant. Successful minimalists just engineer their environment. They don't even trust themselves. They automate their savings the second they get paid, and they delete those one-click shopping apps right off their phones. The goal is to make spending difficult and saving absolutely effortless.
And speaking of making spending difficult, look at the massive impact of the 24-hour waiting rule. The data on this is just staggering. By simply enforcing a mandatory 24-hour waiting period before buying anything non-essential, you eliminate roughly 70% of impulse buys. 70%! Most of that intense, burning desire we feel to buy an object completely evaporates within a day if we just add a tiny little speed bump to the checkout process. The final spending rule is all about understanding what's known as the lifestyle multiplier. Basically, no major purchase ever exists in a vacuum. If you buy a boat, you didn't just buy a boat. You just triggered an entire cascade of ecosystem expenses. You need a trailer, a hitch for your truck, monthly storage fees, winterization, marine insurance. The list goes on. A purchase that seems like a one-off quickly balloons. A $5,000 purchase can easily snowball into $12,000 once that multiplier effect takes hold. You always have to calculate the entire ecosystem before you swipe your card for the primary item. Okay, let's wrap this up with Section 3, Redefining True Wealth. Have you ever wondered why someone pulling in $300,000 a year can feel just as financially suffocated as someone making $80,000? It's because they never took the time to define what enough actually looks like. As their income expands, their lifestyle expectations expand right alongside it, and they are just constantly moving the goalpost on themselves. To build real wealth, you have to define enough before you start earning big money. Decide exactly what kind of home or car or vacation genuinely satisfies you. Once you hit that target, every future pay raise bypasses your lifestyle and flows directly into your savings and investments, rapidly accelerating your financial freedom. Conventional society tells us all day long that wealth is measured by accumulation, the big houses, the flashy cars, the highly visible success. But real wealth, it's measured by optionality. Look at these questions. Can you walk away from a toxic job? Could you afford to take 6 months off for a sudden family emergency? Can you just pack up and move cities for a new relationship? Can you take the leap and start a business without a guaranteed paycheck? True wealth is choices, not objects. And to actually have those choices, you need liquid resources, not money permanently locked away in excess possessions collecting dust in a spare bedroom. So how do we actually get there? Well, the source material gives us this exact, super practical action timeline to kickstart your transformation. This week, I want you to walk through your home and do that replacement test on just 10 items. Sell or donate the ones that fail. This month, commit hard to the 24-hour rule for anything non-essential. This quarter, pick 3 categories in your house, maybe your closet or your kitchen cabinets, and physically count the items to build some objective awareness. And this year, sit down, grab a pen, and write out your own personal definition of enough. At the end of the day, the financial trajectory of your life isn't mostly determined by the size of your paycheck. It's determined by the cycle you actively choose to ride. You can be the $95,000 earner we talked about at the beginning, trapped in a stressful cycle where insecurity drives spending, and that spending just drives more insecurity. Or you can be the $52,000 earner, finding incredible clarity, saving aggressively, and quite literally buying back your own freedom. I want to leave you with this final, completely vital question to chew on. Do you want to own your possessions, or are you perfectly comfortable with your possessions owning you? I think the math strongly favors the first option. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I really hope this gives you a completely new lens on the true cost of your stuff.